It was a quiet Thursday night in our peaceful neighborhood of Maplewood. The kind of night where the wind moved gently through the trees and the hum of the dishwasher downstairs was the loudest sound in the house. I had just finished folding the last load of laundry and turned off the downstairs lights. The house was calm, and I was finally ready to head to bed. As I made my way up the stairs, glass of water in hand, I noticed that the light in my son Andrew's room was still on. It was almost 11:30 p.m. Andrew, who had just turned 16 last month, had always been a responsible teenager. He was thoughtful, kind, and unusually mature for his age. He rarely broke rules and often reminded me when I forgot things. Lately, though, he had seemed more distracted, quieter. His best friend, Jake, had been staying with us for a couple of nights. Jake's parents were going through a nasty divorce, and Andrew had asked me if Jake could stay over for a bit. Without hesitation, I said yes. I had known Jake since he and Andrew were in the 2nd grade. He was practically like another son to me, and I couldn't stand the idea of him being caught in the crossfire of his parents' arguments. I softly approached Andrew's room and knocked gently on the door. There was no response. Assuming they had fallen asleep while gaming, I slowly pushed the door open. What I saw, however, stopped me in my tracks. Andrew sat on the edge of his bed, head bowed low, fingers entwined nervously. Jake was standing across the room, arms crossed tightly across his chest, his eyes rimmed with red. Neither of them noticed me right away. The room felt heavy, as if a storm had just passed through. "Andrew," I said quietly, stepping into the room. "Is everything all right?" He looked up abruptly, clearly surprised. "Mom, we're fine. Really. It's nothing." Jake turned his face toward the wall, trying to wipe away tears without being seen. I could tell instantly that something was wrong, deeply wrong. Not the kind of wrong you scold or punish. The kind that hurts quietly. I walked in and sat on the computer chair. "Talk to me. What's going on?" Andrew looked at Jake, unsure, but Jake gave him a small nod. Andrew sighed deeply. "Jake just told me something important. Something he hasn't told anyone else." I turned toward Jake, keeping my tone warm and soft. "You can tell me too, sweetheart. This is a safe space." Jake's voice trembled. "I told Andrew that I'm gay, and I was scared it would change everything between us." The room fell completely silent. For a moment, all I could do was blink. Not out of shock at what he had said, but because I was overwhelmed with emotion. This boy, this sweet young man who had spent summers in our backyard, built forts in our living room, and called me Mrs. Carter for the last 10 years, had just opened up one of the deepest parts of himself. I stood up slowly and walked to Jake, placing my arms gently around his trembling shoulders. "Jake, you're still the same boy I've always loved. Nothing you say will ever change that." He broke down into tears against my shoulder. Years of fear, confusion, and loneliness poured out of him. I held him until his sobs softened. Andrew came over and wrapped an arm around both of us. Jake stayed with us longer than originally planned. I didn't set a date for when he had to go back. Over the next few weeks, I made his favorite breakfasts, pancakes.